Hello, Mr. Babe.
Good evening, Mrs. Babe.
So, welcome to Right This Way. So, what is the topic or hot topic of this lovely day?
Has it been lovely?
I don't know. I mean, you should always have a positive outlook to your day, so I'm going with the word lovely.
Okay. Is it lovely because we're in front of each other now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I have a couple meanings to this, but I'm thinking I want to talk about poking the bear.
Okay, let's talk about poking the bear. And if you're not hip to poking the bear, it means only really one real reason of what does the poking the bear mean, Mr. Babe?
I don't know. You were on such a roll right there.
I know, but then I stuttered myself. So let's go ahead. What is poking
Well,
the bear?
for me, it's like something that I believe gets you closer to comedy. It could be getting right. So I like to work. I like to be around things that are fun, and I believe that when poke the bear, that's kind of like my thing is like to get something out of someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we're so caught up in gotta get up, gotta do this, gotta do that, and then we're like at work or you're standing in line somewhere, you're right, and it's to me, I I look for those moments. They can come naturally, but I really look for those moments, right? Like I obviously have to be comfortable, right? Because then I think, okay, so when I'm at work, I'm comfortable to a degree. So, like poking the bear, like I'll kind of like challenge somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say something, just kind of wakes them up, like, oh wow, he threw a shot at me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I have to do that? No, but it's kind of like my boss told me, some odd years ago, hey, it's not a good thing if I stop talking to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm uh, like super mad and coming down hard on you, it's because, right? Shame on you, should have done better, but
Mm-hmm.
it's because you're still invested in me, right? Or in a person. Whereas, if he stops talking to you, it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, he's kind of done with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like throwing shots at people, I like, um, to me, it kind of like creates like a fun atmosphere. And you're still, like when I do it, yeah, you're teetering on like, I don't know, possibly crossing a line, but it's only because you've known that person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when I do it, when I know that person and they're next to someone that I, well, for sure if I know them, but if I just don't know, I'll poke the bear right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I want to see how they react. Can I trust them? It's basically getting comfortable, um, and having a good time,
Okay,
right?
but there could also be where someone pokes the bear to piss somebody off purposely.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if poking the bear is something to be like. I would never assume poking the bear is like something out of fun because I feel like deep
You didn't
in
throw a shot at one of your coworkers today? I could have swore there was a little shot thrown.
it, but it's not poking. I didn't poke the bear. You'll know if I poke the bear.
Oh, I'm sorry. One of those. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, right? One of those.
Yeah, but I feel like I feel like when you poke the bear, it's when you are like in this primal conversation, not even maybe it's a conversation or whatever it is, and you're both are equally annoyed with each other, and it's not playful banter like at all, like, and then you say something just to take that person right over the edge, so they felt they in the back of that person's mind, the last picture they have is them karate chopping you to the throat because you took it so far that they're that
Oh,
pissed.
yeah. I see what you mean. Okay. Yeah. Those are never friendly when you're at that. I have definitely done that. Um, where it's like having tunnel it's like having tunnel vision and being like it's you're seeing it your way only,
Mm-hmm.
and someone's in front of you and they're challenging you, right?
Yeah,
Not a fight or anything. It's just
it's fight. They're fight. You're fighting with your words.
yeah. And then all of a sudden you go to that next level and you say something that pokes them, and it's it could be a number of things, right? But it's just, right there, you did it.
Mm-hmm.
You went there. You went there. And you're like, yeah, I'm putting it on the line, right? I just put it on the line right there. Well, number one is you have to have a good reason why you did it. That's in order for it to kind of work out, right? You're not trying to start something, but if something is started and, right, because something can happen where all of a sudden you now realize, wait a minute, I thought I made it pretty easy and clear, and now they're kind of contesting it. And of course, they're doing it in front of somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that really shouldn't be hearing that. And then it's like, it's like anything else. Here it comes, right? How well are we all trained at that moment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a little different than, if you say something, you go to that next level
Mm-hmm.
in the parking lot, right? And you're like, what was that one? What was that one? Did that lady get out of her car? Remember, back at where we used to live, and and then she, like, in that big parking lot. Um, remember there was that little grocery store,
Mm-hmm.
and I could have swore you kind of had a little tiff in the parking lot, and I think that the lady got out of her car. Was it you or her? And I think I think it was her. That was like it's one of those little, like, road rage passion things, right?
Oh, I've had so many of those. I've had people like,
So you don't mind? Okay, so there's there's so many different
well,
instances,
okay,
right?
I
But
think mainly when I think of the term poking the bear, I think of it in
yeah,
you
we haven't found a baseline as
you
to what
find
that
it
is.
more in common in relationships. Because I feel like when you or like friendships, but I think mostly in relationships because you, like, let's say you guys are like in a somewhat of a disagreement, and then out of annoyance to that person you will poke at them to get a rise out of them.
All right, what's an example? What's an example? Because I'm thinking of one, right? It might help kind of open up. Okay, so I think, okay, so let's go with relationships. Okay, let's talk about, now is this like let's talk about maybe hours.
Okay.
Okay, because it's the easiest one to kind of go for. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so poking the bear could mean, like, where someone feels like you kind of went there, that was kind of a cheap shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
You poked the bear, or
Mm-hmm.
I poked the bear, right? Kind of like having to do with duties, right? Because it could be something where it's like, well, because no one else is doing that
Okay.
chore or no one else is doing that and I'm doing
First
that,
of all,
right?
okay, since we're gonna go there, he's pretty much talking about me, how I tend to point out the simple fact of certain things that I do in the household, and he feels that I'm saying those things to get a rise out of him, but that's not what I'm doing.
You're
It's
right. I found out a little something about you when I was at work, and I found out that um, that same coworker has the same birthday as you,
mm-hmm,
and that coworker he has a similar trait to where he was describing his relationship with that one girl, and I was like, when she asked him a certain question, like, are you okay? Is everything okay? Is everything okay? Right? And then, we're not talking about poking the bear right now, but like, and then his response was like exactly the way you respond, real direct, and it could be construed as on the harsh side.
mm-hmm,
But that's just what it is, right? It's kind of like your sign, right? Kind of does that.
mm-hmm. I'm just okay.
So okay, so yeah, leading up to what you're saying is,
So
yeah,
okay, so I what I
I have misconstrued you poking the bear when that's how you are. You're very direct, and it's
yes,
not there's no ill intent, right?
I'm just a very straight to the point person. Like I'm just stating a fact to you. Like at that time, it's it's like how do I say it?
Are you like reading off of like a list, like almost like a grocery list or something where it's
Yes,
just like
like
it's just naming off the thing, and it's nothing that's like there's no harm behind it. You're just stating the fact.
yes, because I mean, okay, I'm not, and this can go in a very whether any type of relation it can vary between um I don't know. It depends on what role each other plays in each other's relationship. So it can go either way. It's just the simple fact is I'm not taking away of and what he does is just when I would say I do this, and this, he felt that I was then stating that he wasn't doing enough. But that's not what I was saying. I'm just saying the fact that I just feel tired because I have done these A, B, C, D, and E things, and it's a constant thing. It's just,
Right.
it's part of my daily routine, and
Correct.
it's not to knock off what I did versus what you did. It's just you work harder, just as hard, but in a different way, if that makes sense.
Well, you're being nice right now, but let's stay with the that right. It's okay, right? So, sure, I had actually it was many years. This has only just been realized in I remember in the last podcast I talked about everything about years, and then is again about the last 1 year to where I kind of finally figured out, right? Because when I hear it, I think when someone hears that, it's like that moment of truth, and you're not wrong if you were poking the bear. That's the whole thing. You just happen to not, but man, if you were, it would come out the same way.
Oh, he was mad.
And
He was big man.
And it goes to even to where, right, you bring up the kids, like, you know, I'm the one that, this, and I'm like, wow, you're right, right? Whereas, like, okay, so, like, okay, well, so I'm gonna take him to music class or something, right? Or I'm gonna do this. I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds good. I'm gonna do it on this day, this day. Okay, cool. Sounds like a volunteer program. I'm gonna do this. But then, right, yeah. So when you connect that with being tired, and then, right, like something hasn't been figured out for the day, right, and all of a sudden
Hmm.
there's shots fired in the house, like, what are we doing for dinner? What are we doing? And all of a sudden it's like, hold on, I did this, and this. That can be construed as like, oh wow, the volunteer program turned into ammunition.
Well,
And
this
then it's
is.
like,
Hmm.
where I have to accept that and go, oh, okay, well, that's not that easy anymore. Now it's not to say, oh, okay, yeah, I'm cool with that now, and I'm just so I I can accept that, but yet you're still doing all this and all that, um, which wouldn't be a right thing to think. It's just that, just to be able to go, okay, she's not poking the bear, right? Because, and that's where I think I had poked the bear
You.
in a response
Well, okay.
for many
This is what
many
happened.
moons.
This is initially what triggers what he feels is poking the bear is because um there's he is him and I are two different types of people. Mr. Babe here is more of an internalizer. That's what I call him. I mean, that in its sense, I mean, he will take on all this stress and then he will shove it down. And he'll shove it, shove it, shove it, shove it. And so by the time that it has percolated so bad, he then will, it could take the smallest little like flick. And most people would know when someone flicks you right in the earlobe, and it's an annoyance where then you become so fucking pissed that someone just snapped you in the ear that you snap. And he hasn't done it in a while, but it used to be like a yearly occurrence where he will just out of the blue pop off. And then he would bring up like, well, this didn't get done in the house, and or he will make a comment like, well, this is dirty, this hasn't been done, and then he would go on a rampage. But then I will then retort back, not in a spiteful or poking the bear type of way, is I will then say, well, which was true at the time. I was working practically full-time hours. It's going in early in the morning, and then this is before our kids became homeschooled, and I was a full-time worker plus a taxi driver for our children. And then after that, then it was like you come home and then you put your mommy hat on because Mr. Babe is still working. And so I have to put my mommy hat on. And then I have to also take in a lot of the home duties. So when I tell him I'm doing all these things, he would then become very angry with me and then say that why am I saying these things, and why am I, in a sense, rubbing it in his face? And I act like I do everything when he works just as hard, but that's not what I meant at all.
Yeah,
It wasn't to say that he was working any less. I think that sometimes each partner forgets each other's role. And I think sometimes when you're so busy in time and you have work and everything, you forget how much the other person does.
sure, that's a fair assessment. I think that I'm really glad you brought that up because it's disturbing to hear that, and I guess that has to be a good thing because that's where the growth comes in. I mean, that's part of where there's little chambers of you got past that, right? So yeah, I do recall, and um, definitely something that needed to have been handled better. And when when you hear that, right? Again, just hearing that, it's like, okay, right, I can clean it up however I want, but at the end of the day, it's like I think you're right. It's still, on that where it's like at that time, right? I was like as an example, right? So the a way that I can explain something like that is okay. Remember, we were supposed to take that train ride, okay, up
Yes.
north and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what did I say? I don't think we can go because my sales aren't up this month. That was
Yes.
literally the reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, and we still haven't done that. Well, we talked about it again, but man, this is expensive. Uh, just to do
Well,
those
it's not
things.
okay, but I mean, take what like when I really thought about taking the train, I didn't. I just thought about the adventure. But then when you look at the time scale, how long it took you to get a point A to point B on a train, and as expensive as it was, it felt like it would take you a whole week to get to where you need to go.
Well, okay,
Okay, and I'm exaggerating. It's not a week. It's
but
like
Mrs. Babe, you and I were alone at that time. We were going to go up alone,
yeah,
which sounds wonderful, even right at this moment, to just, okay, kids, bye bye. Okay,
God,
bye bye. Wouldn't that be
I
nice?
couldn't even imagine
Yeah, yeah,
because
put
there's
everything.
no way we can take our children on a train ride. I
No.
mean, them being on a plane, it was hard for them. They don't like being in confined spaces for so long. So being on a train would just they'd be
Well,
motion sickness the whole time. They
well,
would
yeah. So, okay, so right now all of a sudden, okay, I'm surfing a lot, and I'm just selling whatever, right? And then you were at that original job that you're at when I met you, and we're just doing this, doing that, right? Getting to know each other, and so it's kind of like all of a sudden something with substance comes up, and what is that? Well, it's different. What is that substance? It's called reality. It's called, you're going to get to that next level with this person, right? I'm not talking about first base, second base, third base, and here he comes home. I'm talking about just, right, growth together, right? So more things are on the line. So, and I will admit, unlike you, where you will say something and it's not really trying to poke the bear. Mine is completely opposite. I'm letting that person know I'm irritated, right?
mhm
But I'm poking the bear, from like what we're talking about, no. But it's like throw a shot,
mhm.
right?
It's still throwing a shot, and
Yeah,
it's similar to
and
poking the
the
bear.
the throwing the shot, the poking the bear is right, and it depends on who's doing it. For me, it would be like I'm gonna make this person feel bad,
Mhm.
right? Okay, and you would feel bad about something I might say. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Did I win that one? No. No. I got to throw the shot, and it was a showstopper. It was a showstopper. But no, there was no winning, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Mrs. Babe, I would say that it's right. It's not about winning. It's just that I can't win.
And
I'm
okay,
because if I go after winning, we're not winning.
and
I'm
I'm
not winning.
I'm not a big I'm not a big poking the bear type person because I don't like dealing with confrontation. Like, um, I'm not one to like strike at somebody on purpose to get a rise out of some. Now, if it was like fun, like cute little banter, I would do
Well,
it.
that's what I was talking about originally, like at work or whatnot,
But
and
but I don't. But I think that when most people hear the word poking the bear, they're not thinking about cute banter.
mm,
They're thinking about like how am I gonna fuck with this person
mm,
so bad to
okay,
make them mad? Because that's when you said poking the bear. That's what went to my mind. It wasn't
okay.
cute banter at all. And I think a lot of times in relationships, when you see it, you can see when people do. I'm not a
Oh,
big.
okay. Kind of like when I'm sitting there and all of a sudden someone will come up, like a customer, and just start saying something, and all of a sudden throw a shot that like I couldn't control because I don't build any of that stuff, and just throw a shot. It's like that person to me like just poke the bear, like thank you so much for attempting to ruin my morning and kind of actually ruining my morning.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go and just hang myself. And right, oh, there's the coffee machine. Let me grab a cup of coffee before I do it. Okay, I'm happy again. Or just like, yeah, like completely opposite to what you said, where someone will, it's like, wow, they were really looking forward to getting that off. And again, it could be just like you, where to them that wasn't poking the bear. So it's really hard to assess it when you feel like it's happening to you versus when you're doing it,
Yeah,
right?
and I also think I think it's becoming more. I don't know if it's becoming sociably acceptable for people to just go out of their fucking way to poke at you, but it's definitely becoming very common, and I'm starting to find it's like this. You see it in more in entitled people, where they think it's okay to say something right off their mouth, and they look at you like you're pretty much the fucking peasant that you are, and they have the right to like take hot pokers and just poke you over and over and over and over
Hmm.
until and they're not one bit bothered by it.
Yeah.
Now, if you did that to me at work, I'll take it. You do that shit to me out in public, I will not. Because one, I don't want to lose my job, number one. And number two, it's a place of work. So I won't ever like I'll let you poke me until my like I'm about to like in my
Mrs. Babe,
mind,
this keep it clean.
in my mind, I'm thinking what I'm thinking. But if you do it to me in public, I there won't be me poking you back. I will tell you exactly how I feel right at that moment, and I will have zero reservations about why I said it. And I won't poke you. I will hurt your feelings
Well,
because I
okay, so
can.
the very definition. Okay, so it's either like you're gonna hurt their feelings, or what am I trying to say? You are hurting their something to do with the pride. What is it?
Their ego.
Their ego. Thank you. That's exactly where I go. Now, when kind of going back a little bit to you and I, right?
Hmm.
That's not really that thing. That's not the ego thing.
Well, no, you and I don't. We don't really. We don't have a lot of poking the bear situations. Like
Well,
I
when you
said.
talk about like, okay, I'd be angry and say something, right? You're talking about like compressing it down,
Hmm.
right? So, like, even when I surf today, I'm like, oh, here we go. The mind is going to take a break. Here I go. Can't wait till I just have that look on my face, right?
Yeah, but the look and
And
the poking the bear is two different things.
well, right, no, but where I'm going with this is okay, right? I when that time frame, right, that you're talking about,
Hmm.
or time frames, let's just say, um, it's kind of like, well, what is it? What is it? It's a number of things. It's everything, right? It's kind of like taking your mind and putting it on hold because it's something that you enjoyed doing, so made you happy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm just talking about myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? In that, because you're very specific in that, you're very good at that, and so, and then all of a sudden, you go to work, you come back, okay, you keep holding it in, you keep holding it in, and all of a sudden something happens at work, or
Mm-hmm.
something happened in traffic, or you come home and it wasn't like you envisioned it was gonna be. Anything could happen, right? And all of a sudden something triggered, and you come back and you're like, and it's just like, let's just get it all out of the open right now.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't working out. This isn't working. This isn't working. And then after it's like, wow, that was a real a hole. That was
Mm-hmm.
a real a hole move because while you might be right, that didn't help. And or uh, there was a classic. You didn't consider anyone else's feelings
Mm-hmm.
as much as you probably should have
Mm-hmm.
because it takes two. All right, and so that's where uh, I'm fortunate to have someone like yourself, where you know, uh, you know that's a classic moment of needing to grow, right? And so um, I think we just talked about that tonight. Talked about cleaning that hallway closet.
Oh
And
yes,
you're
he.
like, right? So that's the same neighborhood. I'm on the doorstep of that situation, right? Because I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The approach is a little different. Same message, right?
Yes,
But it's
and
the cleaned up 20 years later message, which is like, well, okay, well, I know.
well, he okay. So these are the one of those moments that I also have to make sure I put him in reality. So he will sit there like tonight. He says, "I want to clean up that hall closet. I had it organized at one point, and it is like a hot mess express. It does need to be cleaned up.
Your classic word is travesty.
It needs to be organized again, and it is just it is what it is. However, okay, when Mr. Babe here wants to take on a project like organization of some type of thing, it would be like, okay, in his mind, it's like, I'm going to gut it out
Yes.
and then I'll organize it. But what he failed to tell you is he's just going to gut it all out and it's going to sit on the floor or some type of area in the house. And every day you're going to pass by it and you're going to wonder when it's ever going to go back in the hallway closet. So I said to him while he was laying there so comfortably tonight, I said was, so you mean put it all back in, organized, right? And he goes, uh-huh. I go, all of it, right? And he goes, uh-huh. Well, we got to throw some things away. I go, right. So we're going to throw things away, but we're going to put it all back in there, right? And he goes, uh-huh. So I'm just trying to set the mindset because, for example, we had these black rolling bins that was upstairs. That was for our children's school. Mr. Babe goes, oh, we're going to bring it down. We're going to clean it out. And then we're going to roll them empty into the office. So then we can, find whatever we want to do with it. Okay. They're still they were in the living room for a good while, several months. Yeah. And then, they're not empty.
Did you just throw in several months?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're not empty, by the way. And they are in the office, but they haven't been, he didn't do what they were supposed to do. So what I'm saying is, I know like his intention.
Well, I don't know what to do with books. How do
it's called recycle.
You just throw them away?
You just recycle them.
All that knowledge in there, you just throw them away? You don't give them like to a library or something?
If it's a real like librarian book that you think like, I don't know,
I feel bad about
Diary of a
away.
Wimpy kid or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't like. Okay, the reason I say these are like learning materials that we have bought over the years for the kids, and with the amount of, how do I say this without getting shitted on? With the amount of people who don't like certain things being put into libraries or schools and things like that, I just don't feel comfortable donating it to a library. For me, it's
Okay.
like just recycle
Yeah,
it.
if it's a well-known book, you happen to have it, you don't want it anymore.
Except for a Dr. Seuss book.
Grapes of Wrath, or just something you're not interested in. You're saying just give it to the library. But
Yeah,
these
don't do Dr. Seuss books though. Just keep that shit in your house.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the bins still. They look nice where they're at, but they are still full.
They're still full.
Okay, well,
and
because there's probably going to be room in the closet for some of it to go.
just stop. Just it okay, and so yeah, so it's like he has great intentions when he I can actually name another spot in the house, but I'm not going to.
Thank you, Mrs. Bam.
Okay. So
Right.
but
So-
that wasn't really me poking the bear though. That was just
No.
me stating
Right. No. So there's that one person at work, the one that I get those nice gifts every once in a
Oh
while.
yeah, uh-huh.
Okay. So that is the very definition of poking the bear, right?
Oh, yes.
And so you really can't do that if you don't know the person. You can when it's a matter of this is my position and this is your position, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, now that I think about it, I think we had a couple, we kind of hashed it out a little bit. I had a couple little episodes where it's kind of like, okay, no, I need this done, I need this done, I need this done, you didn't do this, right? And then it's like, well, that person didn't like to hear that, right? Because that person thinks they're smarter than you, right? So that's tough for them to hear that, right? Because no one else in this world's telling them like that. And now all of a sudden, you're the one telling them, and actually that person likes you, and you like them, but because, right, the business gets in the way, and like something really important, and all of a sudden you take it to the next level, and all of a sudden you poke the bear, and you say something that you're like, yep, got him. Got him. And no, I mean, I got him. And then it's like, and then you go and you clean it up later on. But, like, looking at it now, I can 100%, because that person's personality and who that person is, if I did it right now, it'd be like doing it for the first time. Just as gnarly. Whereas there's other employees where, okay, now we'll talk about relationships, okay, because you still have a relationship with people at work. Okay, so we'll kind of keep a relationship, because it's kind of through and throughout. Okay, work,
Right.
and then friends, they're relationships. Okay,
Well, that's
and
why
so,
I said it's friendships or even like
that was good. I like that. Because that is actually what it is. And so there's other people that you have a degree of relationship, and in this case work, where you kind of know where the cutoff point is.
Yes, you know how
and
that
you
person
actually
ticks.
don't want to go to that next thing because it really isn't going to help. Whereas the other one, it was kind of like, right, that person's not, I know that person thinks they're smarter than me, and I know that person's cutting corners, and I'm going to call it out. Okay, and ultimately, right, others are like, oh, wow, yeah, you really put him in his place. Well, did I? And what did that end up accomplishing? Well, right now, I might be that person's best relationship in the place. Why? I don't know. Because I mostly have to listen to the ego, right? And he appreciates that. Okay, but then I get something out of it when I need person's help, but there's many times where I could poke the bear with that person seriously, still to this day. Like, I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? You didn't even look at that? Oh my gosh, I have to compensate for that by doing that before he gets his hands on that material. So that he goes, oh, I'm like, yeah, no, this is what it is, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just wondering. You're just wondering. No, you didn't look at it, and you never look at it, and I understand that. But again, uh, that's after poking the bear and realizing nothing came of it with that person. Whereas another person, like, it could be where, remember at that one job where I still get text messages from him, right? He's got a lot of kids.
Yep.
Okay. And I remember that one kind of like Christmas to New Year's Eve kind of run that we all had. And then we kind of like, there was a falling out.
Yes.
Right? And then we didn't talk for like solid 6 months. But now it like is strengthened up, right? Because that person, well, when you say, I don't know. Now I'm starting to think of like getting under their skin, right? But they say something to you that usually hurts, and you said it. Ego. Ego. Nobody wants their ego to be tainted because this world is kind of hard. And however you set yourself, like that person you poked the bear and you infiltrated their ego, that person still has a nucleus to where there's a survivor in this world, right? Okay. They got, they got in their car. They didn't get in an accident. They did this and they didn't get robbed. They did this and they're not on the streets, right? Everyone got together, right? And it looks easy, right? Because no one's really thinking about it until something goes wrong. But like that person has made themselves somewhat successful to appear. And to at least appear as though they're ready to go. And here you go, infiltrating their ego. To what? Fulfill your ego? That's pretty mean.
Well,
so now I thought poking the bear, Mrs. Baby, when I was mentioning this was gonna be kind of fun. Now it feels kind of harsh because your definition of it was one of like, again, right?
well, it's hitting below the belt.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, well, for me,
has anyone done that to you?
I don't really have an ego, and I really do say that because I'm a very humbled person. For me, it's like I'm a big believer in I don't know everything, and every day I'm learning, and every day somebody else can teach me something new that I don't know. So I don't really have an ego. I have an attitude, and I name my attitude bitch ass because when she comes out, she's not very nice. But that's usually because you've poked me first. But I've never had like.
So in that case, poking the bear to you wasn't about your ego, it was something else.
Okay, so a lot of times I have found over the years is people have poked at me because they were threatened over something that I had no control over, nor was I out to seek some type of like whatever they thought. Like they think I'm out for their job or I'm trying to make them look bad because I just have this type of work ethic. My work ethic has nothing to do with you. Now, if you're threatened by my work ethic, maybe you need to look at your work ethic in the mirror. Because I'm always making sure I'm always the first one there, and I always try to be the last one gone. and I'm always there to make sure I'm very helpful. I'm just
Okay,
a
well, okay. Wasn't that person who just recently opened up to you? I just mentioned that today or yesterday. Like, oh, really? Wasn't that the same person? Okay, if you're not talking about ego, that person poked the bear, right? Trying to assign things to you when they didn't have the
Oh, I'm not talking about that person. I'm talking about like just other people. I didn't even think of that person, honestly.
oh,
That person, I feel, was just trying to take advantage of, I call, being the new person in the room
oh, okay.
syndrome. Um, I feel like when you show up and you're like there in it, and you put all your intention into something, and then you have that one person who always wants to be higher title than you, and they always want to like throw that in your face. Well, I have this title and you're really nobody. Yeah,
Are
but
you thinking of a specific thing?
I'm just thinking about it in general. I've had that happen over the years of
Where? No.
okay, I can say it my last job. I was I was
Oh,
always made
mm.
felt bad because I was very well respected, and it wasn't because. And let me tell you something, I'm not an ass kisser. I'm not gonna go out of my way to ass kiss anybody. I I go to work, I do my job, and then I go home. And along the way, I will show you kindness. I would be cool with you, and all those things. And I always say kindness goes a long way. But because I was such a hard worker, everyone I worked with respected me.
Mm.
And I had to deal with others feeling as if I was purposely trying to make them look bad. When that was never my intent. Like, I never had that in my mind. I was just doing my job, what I'm being paid to do. And I really enjoyed my job. And it was like a constant battle. And
Well,
so,
that there were certain people that felt threatened, or okay, I think you're talking about that one person
yeah,
where
so,
she felt like you, yeah. So it was a classic case. Like, why are they talking to you about that? I'm the boss. They shouldn't be going to you. Okay, yeah, or actually saying, yeah, um, she's not one that you would go to. You have to come to me for that or
yeah,
something like
so,
that. And like,
but
and
the,
to me, like, just my gosh, I can't believe just saying that like just brought me back to that how I I reacted worse than you did just hearing that. Like someone to say that, like you were that person was off the hook. You were assuming not a title, a role, which was a caregiver to people that
many, mm-hmm.
many people that came to you because you built relationships with them, and like it was absolutely nothing more than that, and you can't buy that type of like trust. You have to earn it, and you've been with that place for like
A long time.
6 years. And for that person to have said that is like I don't know if it was even that person's intention, right? Because we 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 hear things and we take it one way, but then were they really dishing it out that way, right? So I don't know. What do you think? Were they was that person purposely? I felt like that person was purposely poking the bear. Like when you straight up say, yeah, like that's not your job. That's like that's my title, I'm the one. When you have to say that, you've already lost. You've already lost that person. It's not even about titles anymore. You are not that go-to person. You can't buy that. You can't have a title for that. That's, yeah, if you want that, that's, I don't know, maybe a money thing. If someone asks about money, you can go to that person. That's not even the person you would have
Yeah,
gone to
and when you
anyways.
play, when you're a caregiver, you don't get paid. You're very underpaid anyway. So that, I mean,
Right now, again, you were not a caregiver at like someone's home or a caregiver.
no,
You're
but
just talking about just,
I was a caregiver for many people, and
yes.
so it's just in by nature. I've always been a very nurturer person. I like to nurture. It's just it's not a habit. It's just who I am. So I can relate to wanting to take care of somebody. And that's why for a long time I knew that if I had children, I would make a good mom because I like to nurture. It's a thing. So yeah. So do I think that that person did it on purpose? Don't know. I know they did it frequently, and it maybe it wasn't the intention, but I do know this: that person was not strong enough. Didn't have very thick alligator skin, was very sensitive, and had their own issues. So a lot of times, I think, like I said, if you have a problem with my work ethic, then you need to look at your own work ethic in the mirror. Because when you are sitting there telling somebody, knowing that you weren't the one doing it, it's your own guilt. And I'm okay with you feeling guilty or whatever that person felt, and that's fine. Um, but I like to have, and look, I never even I didn't want an accolade for my job. You didn't have to constantly tell me what a great job I did. I didn't need a pat on the back because at the end of the day, I was just doing my job. That was the most important, that I took care of all those people, and I did it with the pride
Right,
that
but there
I
was many times that there were several times at that place you come home and you're like, you know, it was like DEFCON 4
yeah, because
because you're it wasn't an ego thing. It was like the energy that it took for you to accomplish what you were doing. You were doing like three people's jobs, and to hear something like that. So um so when we're talking about poking the bear, I feel like, okay, do you even have to be conscious that you're doing it though, right? Because that's the thing. You're accused of poking the bear and irritating this, for this, or this, that reason. No, this person, or in this case, the sets of peoples, right, that do it,
mm-hmm.
right? The the people that do it, right, may not even know they're doing it.
True, but I do think if you are in, like, have a certain type of relationship with the person, like if you guys are friends or you're in a relationship with the person, I definitely know that they're poking the pear. Hello. Poking, Jeezies Louises, they're poking the bear on purpose. They're going out of their way, knowing and intentionally poking the bear. Because, look, we all know I am a big
But
person.
are they trying to get something out of it?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, yes.
what?
Just a rise. Some people just like, okay, I don't like poking the bear, but one thing about me is I like to sit back and watch, like, who I'm around. Because I want to know everything about you silently. So then, not because I'm going to poke the bear, it's just in a positive way. I know what makes you tick in a more positive way. So instead of working at your like what doesn't work for you, I try to work around what works for you in terms of for myself. Now, if I want to poke the bear, do you know how many people I can poke so many times knowing all of their bad ticks? Plenty.
Yeah.
Did you just steal my water?
Yeah.
You stole my water. So I think that I do believe in relationships. People definitely know when they're poking the bear.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, all right. I'm glad you said what you says a few moments ago because it's like you said get a rise out of it. Okay. Well, so I think I'm that person.
You are.
Yeah. Okay. So, but
He's 100%
that's what
that
I was
person.
trying to say, like originally, right? So, like if I'm in line to get food somewhere, right? So we're all like, we're all in this system, right?
Mm-hmm.
These the people that you're next to could very well be, friends, right? But you don't know them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting here going, okay, wow, here we go. We're all in line, just sitting here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're maintaining some sort of like social balance, right? To just keep things right.
Mm-hmm.
And so when there's an opportunity, and for me, it happens in little spurts
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know. Like for me, I don't know when it's gonna happen.
Correct.
Where either you're okay, so I mean, there's energy, right? I'm gonna get into this. There's energy flowing around everyone and whatnot, and all of a sudden you just get in a spot where there's two or three people, and you feel comfortable, and you just jump right in there, and you're like, oh, and you just say something. You just kind of like, right, to get some sort of rise, but at what expense, right? So because you have to try. You say something, and then you go, oh yeah. Well, then the way in which I did was I talked smack about something that I didn't need to talk smack about, right? So then you grow into, and then you take better shots. You know what I mean? You're poking the bear in
Oh,
different
I know.
ways.
Oh, I know. Like one that I think I will never forget was a time that you and I went to go get that meal, and we were inside waiting for our meal,
Oh my goodness!
and that lady set you off.
Wait, I didn't think you were talking about that. What are you talking about?
Where it like dragged on until we got into the car.
Oh my goodness!
That was like
Okay,
the most like
that was terrible in a lot of actually, I could venture to say that that person was not necessarily wrong. I have to kind of commend that person for saying something. I was in the wrong. And then after that, it was like, right, let's just say maybe my ego had been hurt, had been tainted. And then at that point, right, it never got better. Okay, we're going to talk about how it didn't get better, but we all made it home in one piece, right? Everything's cool. But what I'm saying is like that. Wow, that was a good example.
that was gnarly.
That was really, it was bad. But I can only blame myself because if I blame the other person, well, I had my opportunity to poke the bear, right? I said something while we were going into the restaurant, but normally, right, I'll poke the bear not in a situation like that. I had envisioned doing something like that. Here's how it's set up. How many times have you been in a parking lot? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say before you got into the parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
and someone's up your ass in their car,
Oh yeah.
and you're like, really, dude? And you don't know where they're heading, and all of a sudden you go into the parking lot, and they're going in the parking lot too. And you're like, oh my God. And you start envisioning things like, dude, right? What is up with this person? And then it's like, can you imagine if we go into the same place together? That's what it is. Because what normally happens is you'll kind of break off. Sometimes you'll kind of like break the monotony and just park where you kind of wouldn't park. Because you're kind of like, let me just get that over with because it feels intense. And then you go park somewhere else and then wherever. Which you could still end up in the same place. But what I'm saying is maybe you intentionally park somewhere that you weren't going to just to kind of like get rid of the situation. Or at least that's what I do. And I've always envisioned like, okay, well, what happens? Like, and we're being really real. Not just socially, like I was saying, like when you're in line and you're just like, la, 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 okay, we're all just little puppets, right? In this little system that we're in. Okay, we can't just be like, real about it, right? It's not easy to be real about things, right? To me, being real is sometimes poking the bear because it gets everybody to wake up, right? Now, sometimes when someone is talking in line, I kind of go, huh, okay. Right? I have to make that own assessment. What is that person's goal? Maybe they're poking the bear, right? And I'm going, sometimes it's kind of like chatter or banter where you're like,
Oh, yeah.
like, dude, really? It's as bad as like when you're in a movie and the cell phone goes off back in the days. And you're like, really?
Oh,
okay, like that. Or is that person trying to break up the monotony? Well, it depends on what they say, right? Because we're smart individuals, in this scenario. We're smart individuals. So I try to look for those opportunities if you feel uncomfortable to break the monotony, just to kind of, right? Because you don't know. It could be, you're having a good day and you're going in and next thing you know, you bring in energy in the place and you're like, I'm not going to get held back down because I got to wait in line for people. You might see something and just comment on something and like, oh yeah, oh this and that. And you're like, oh, this is a good crew I'm with. Now, if I go any further with it, now I'm crazy, right? So you just have to take it for what that was. You just took a shot. You kind of broke up the monotony. They were kind of feeling it. You're feeling it. I'm like, okay, cool. And it's not like we're at like a club or something, or like at a bar. and then we're all friends. Like we got things to do. But mission accomplished. I feel good when that happens sometimes. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. It's like when I went to the store today. And, I was just kind of feeling it, because I had, the bag filled and everything. I was like, this. And I was just, like when you're in your element, right?
Right.
So, but in that case, man.
That was bad.
It was bad, but I have to put that on me. Okay, so you, right, you're in the parking lot and you're heading towards that grocery store or that thrift store or whatever it is. What do? Right? Because it's hatred at that point. It was stressful. You hated me because you were all up on my ass. Why did you do that? Right? In the car. And all of a sudden, you were kind of doing that in the parking lot. Right? And, depending on what you're driving, I'm assessing you as a little on the privileged side or a little on the ghetto side. Or the WTF side. Like, just what the fuck,
Yeah, but
right?
she wasn't tailing you.
Well, no, I know, but I'm...
You were upset that she didn't let you go.
Well, okay, I know. I've kind of moved on from that example. I'm kind of like, okay, Your Honor, it was my mistake, right? Okay, so, but I'm just saying, just generally speaking, how many times do you go, okay, I'm going to go to this store and pick up a prescription. I'm going to go and put some gas in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know, whatever. And then all of a sudden, they're pulling some of that traffic stuff. And you go to the same place, and you get out of the car, and you're heading to the same spot. You're going to head to the same door. How do you deal with that, right? It's never happened before. I've never had that happen before. And there was a golden opportunity. When I saw her get out of the car and heading towards that sandwich place, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to poke the bear.
Oh, he said in the car.
I'm going to poke the...
he said in the car. He's like, I'm going
to
to say something.
I was reaching the moment that I had envisioned.
And I was like, please don't. And you're like, no, I'm going to do it.
And so I just threw a little shot, but not at the person. It was like, so the person could hear it. And then it was like it was done. But then she rounded off while we were sitting there, right? I was in a vulnerable moment, right? And threw a shot at me. And I have to kind of commend her for that. You know what I'm saying? It's a single woman out in the world. And, you and I were walking up. I threw a shot. She didn't know maybe if you were, in that same mindset as I was. You were not. You were kind of like, babe, Mr. Babe.
Well,
don't do that, right?
I just don't like...
And I don't do that. I really... And so I was like, I'm going to accomplish this goal.
Well, you
and
sure did.
There was nothing positive about it, right? So in that case, poking the bear did not work out.
No, because it
wasn't fun either.
It wasn't fun, and it was the most, out of like all the years him and I has been together, it was probably... Oh, he's stealing my water again. It was... You can go ahead and keep my water, Mr. Babe. It was probably one of the most uncomfortable feelings I probably ever felt. Ever. Because I've always had this, like... I don't like confrontation. If I have to have the confrontation, it was because someone went at me first. So then I feel like my brain then gears up to like warm up. But in this scenario, when I saw it play out, because I know you so well and I know how your mind works. And so when you were in the car and you made a comment, I said, please don't. Don't do it. And you're like, I'm going to. And I'm like, please don't. Because I knew, it was like not... I don't like to deal with things, especially out in public. And then when it started to go off within the rest, like where we were, and then people... I was like, oh my God, now people are staring. Yeah. Like, I can't even believe, like... In my mind, like, I'm never coming back to this place ever again. I'm not showing my face here ever again. Yeah. I don't want to come back here. It's now, I feel it has like bad vibes to it.
But listen, at the end of the day, nothing positive happened out of it. But if there was, I did make a point to her, and she clearly made her point. We were both able to make our points to each other, and we both came out of it okay.
Did you? Because it was a little like stressful. I felt okay.
And so the sandwich was not that good.
No, it wasn't good.
That was.
But then it was like, imagine being in between two people, just like straight up, like going at it, and you're just, and at the end, as this person just leaves, he says, "You didn't defend me. You didn't like stick up for your man." And I'm sitting thinking, in my mind, I told you not to do this. You put me in this weird, like, I did not know what to do.
Yeah, because I was calling upon all the gods from the past when, you talked about some of your situations and you're forthcoming about your feelings about it at the time that it was happening towards those people. And I was sitting there like all you had to do was just one of those monumental things, right? Woman to woman, right? And just clap back. But I realized it's because I was mostly in the wrong. In that because you're not I was gonna say not ghetto like that, but
Oh, I'm ghetto.
well, I know, but it has to be at the right situation.
Well,
That wasn't the right situation. I was almost like saying like, why don't you just do it just to be doing? And you're kind of like, the way I interpret it was, I'm not gonna do that. Like I took it for what I think.
well,
Like, yeah, I
first of
wanted
all,
you to defend.
she didn't even do anything wrong. Like, okay, let's be very clear, people. She did not like go off on us. She didn't give us the bird. She didn't like she did honestly, when I was, because I was there, for me, she really didn't do anything wrong. I felt it was just a misunderstanding based on she just went straight ahead.
It was parking lot rage.
Right, and you took it as she was straight just
All I was
cutting
doing
you.
was starting to make a left into just to go left in the parking lot, and I can tell when someone's at least pumping the brake a little bit. That person, I could tell, and she was driving a privileged vehicle. And that was the other thing. Okay, and it was like, like had I made the move, she would have hit me, right? Because there was no, like, she would. I don't know if she wasn't paying attention
I
or
just don't think
whatnot.
she wasn't. I think honestly, she wasn't paying attention, and
Well, right, and and I was trying to poke the bear to get her to
it
go.
was you were in the mentality. I'm going to make my point, whether
I try to make her feel bad.
yeah, and I was just you go into two stages, fight or flight. And I went into flight because I knew at this point was this wasn't something to argue about.
Yeah.
This wasn't like such a big deal for me to like I go to fight over. I just felt it was like
Well, this is a good example. Uh, Here we go. Wow. This is like a moment for me because here we're talking about poking the bear. Someone poked the bear at me, and now I'm having to deal with it. And look how it was handled, right? So my ego was a little hurt when I tried to throw a shot, and look how I handled it. And so that's the very thing, right? So now that one wasn't friendly fire. That was like, I'm gonna make this stranger feel bad, and that they're like, well, I'm gonna defend myself. And then I didn't, still didn't let that one go, right? So, um, originally, right, when I was talking about this, like, okay, I like to throw shots to wake people up, right? Like, when the crew comes in and it's just like, oh, this
yeah.
and that, we throw shots all day,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's part of having a good time, right? You even
But I
throw
think that's
shots.
friendly
Also,
banter.
even throw shots at the boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here and there, and so it's like, oh, okay, cool. Um, and that actually helps me know that where they stand, because if they're all of a sudden not feeling it, and I'm like, okay, well, that was bad timing, or something's wrong with them, and then maybe I'll circle back a little bit later and be like a different approach,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm kind of like, okay, this person's off today, right? It's kind of like a way for me to size up where your headspace
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm saying. So in some cases, poking the bear for me is a way to get to the truth, is
Mm-hmm.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it could have a negative effect, which
Yeah.
in that example, right? But uh, but in most cases, I don't know for some, but for me, I do it as a way to just have a fun day.
Yeah.
Right now, I am taking chances when I do it, but I also think that the people I'm doing it to appreciate it. That's just how I feel, based off of what I get back from it. And then I think it helps build uh, realistic relationships with those people. I really do, because you're going, okay, here it is. I'm gonna poke the bear, and I'm gonna see how you handle it. I'm like, okay, I handled that. Okay, all right, I got that. I respect that.
Yeah. Well, I need to put out this. I mean, he's not saying he goes to work to be like aggressively mean to anybody. Not like the whole situation we just talked about. He is actually one of the most well liked people in the company, and a lot of them look up to him. So that he's talking about friendly banter, and trust me, they all laugh. I've heard them laugh on the phone. Sometimes I get very irritated because I'm like, I'm on the phone. Like, I called for a reason. I don't need to listen to y'all laughing and having a good old time. I'm on the phone. Hello. Hello. Pay attention to me.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. So I know what he's saying. I have had other people not poke the bear to me for stupid things. And, yeah, I don't take those very kindly. I'm actually very I've actually had an old lady poke the bear, and that wasn't
Which one was that?
worth. She called my children ethnic.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that because you look like the ethnic babysitter?
Well, because my children were laughing in the shopping cart,
Oh,
and she looked at the children and she goes, "You need to shut up your ethnic children."
did you say that?
Mm-hmm. No one wants to hear your ethnic children laugh, so shut your fucking ethnic children up.
That's what she said.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember you saying something like that, but I feel like you're adding a couple
No,
words to
no.
kind of like.
She told me to shut my ethnic children up.
Were you in line to like at a grocery store?
We were at Target.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
And then what did you say at that time?
well, first of all, she was old, and I was shocked. I was actually really shocked. And I said to her, I go, well, they're not screaming, they're not crying, they're just laughing. And she goes, well, no one wants to hear that. So obviously it was a very racially charged comment. At the time when my children were very little, they were very pale skin. And so when people would see me with the children, they always thought I was the nanny or the babysitter because I'm not pale. I don't know how to say
Mr.
it.
Babe, pale skin.
I'm not. And so I always had the question asked, so how long have you been babysitting? Oh, you're the babysitter. And I always said, no, I have the scars to prove it. They're my children. Because they are. And so I always will get comments like that. It's for some reason, anytime that anyone's poked the bear, it's either because I'm a woman or it's the color of my skin or the color of my hair.
So why do you think? Okay, that's kind of fucked up. Okay, so why do these people do? Why are they doing this?
Well,
What do you really think that they're doing? Are they okay? Someone goes out of their house, they go to a store, and they throw an ethnic shot.
Okay, so when the Target comment,
How is it even possible that someone is gonna just say that?
when the lady said in Target, when she's no, I love Target, so don't take this out on Target. I love Target, so I feel when that at that time it wasn't very sociably acceptable to talk to anybody that way. I find nowadays when my last incident, it's always at my favorite stores too. When I was at a furniture store that's well known in all of California, where you put the shit together yourself. You buy, you look at it, you're like, oh, that looks great, but I gotta put that shit together myself. And so when I was leaving that scenario, and a very young couple decided to talk. I don't know if they were trying to be history buffs but they were very history ignorant. And so they kept telling me about how I needed to go back somewhere. And that didn't work out so well for them, because then they got a part of me that just, it's like, you think it's sociably okay to talk to somebody that way. It's still not. I don't care what time of year we're in. That is still not sociably okay. And so stop it.
Yeah.
But that comes with, I think they were young and stupid, and they thought that they could. And then, of course, I literally had to remind them how ignorant they sounded. And then when I had to then prove my point by with their beat up, shitty ass car that was covered in duct tape because they couldn't afford to fix their car. And when I drove by and let them know that my car can technically smash their car to smithereens.
4x over it. Yeah.
They just kind of looked at me with this like stupid look on their face.
Yeah. Like they couldn't believe it. Like, yeah.
So it's like, you literally talked shit about somebody who's driving an American brand car. It's like, and they were not. They were driving an Asian car. So, like, how did that even work? Like, you're sitting there talking about race.
Well, and they were hanging out in the car or outside of the car, which is, most people go somewhere, get stuff, and leave. So it's possible they were, going to be there for a while and maybe go to another parking spot, go to another place that has parking spots and kind of, I don't know, you think they were living in the car, in the parking lot?
But my whole point to you is this. If you're going to talk about racially charged comments, maybe not drive a Japanese-owned car. If you're going to be so racially out there, I thought you would at least have driven an Americanized car. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I love a good Japanese car. I like all cars as long as it gets me to point A to point B.
Well,
I can care
you're
less what
kind of
kind of car.
dissecting it in a, you're kind of going in where their mentality was, right? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, the kind of car you drive, they weren't talking about that. They were talking about you.
I understand.
You're kind of going towards the manufacturer of the car. I get that. You're being nice about it. But like for you to be putting stuff in your vehicle, and
they got me before I was putting things. They were shit talking me as I was walking to the car.
Yeah, and that's like, I don't know. It's right. It's not like you cut them off. It's not like there's a little bit of parking lot rage. It was just, I don't know how many times I'm in a parking lot walking and just imagine. I've never witnessed anyone say something like this to someone. I've absolutely never witnessed it. I wouldn't think about saying it, but I've never seen anyone just like walking by and saying something about someone's race or go back to whatever. And like, what? Like, okay. Like, where are we going with this? Because like like where's the cameras? What was that one show?
Oh yeah.
It was kind of like the I Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the show, but
I Gotcha.
I don't know, because at that time
Like,
we were coming out of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It was at that time that we were finally able to actually go into stores. And I don't know what.
It had nothing to do with anything.
But it had nothing to do with COVID. I'm just saying it was like around that time we
frame.
were coming back out.
And people were coming outside a little bit more. And so, again, no substance to it. But I'm saying is okay, that was ignorant, poking the bear. That one can get someone
hurt.
Dead. Right? You know what I mean? That one, well, I mean, one could say, that.
Well, it could have if they messed with the wrong person.
Yeah. So, and okay, so there it is, trial and error, right? But that one, I don't know. I'm gonna stay away from that one. Okay. Yeah, anytime you have some sort of outside confrontation, whether it's poking the bear or this and that, it's subject to not go quite as well as you think. But again, right, that's why you hear of all these okay, at parties and stuff, people getting shot, this and that. That's a lot of poking the bears.
Well, that I believe when it comes to party, that's all like alcohol induced, right? Like poking the bear, like because at that point you just don't. And let's be for real. Like if you're drunk, you really don't know what you're saying. I mean, you have the really happy
Or
go.
how to interpret it.
Yeah, and so a lot of times I think that when you're drunk, your brain is not working at full capacity. So you can take something so small, depending on the type of person you are, and then you can blow up it to something really big. As if that was me, I probably would have just laughed it off because I am more of a like lose your shoe kind of a person, or throw the shoe in the air kind of, like I was just all over the place. So I would never like purposely intentionally hurt anyone's feelings or poke the bear, but you see that now. It's very out there of how many parties.
Okay, what happened at the in the grocery store in the meat department?
Dude.
What happened on that one? Did that person poke the bear? It was the person behind the counter.
Yes.
Okay, and that person poked the bear by not saying anything. Wasn't it what the person didn't say and the body language?
Well, I'm standing there waiting because everyone knows you go to the meat counter or the fish counter, wherever the hell you want. Is where you order what you want, you see behind the counter. And I was standing there waiting, and this person walks up to the counter, and the guy literally behind the counter who's supposed to help you totally disregards me altogether. Like I'm not even there.
How many people are behind you? Because in a lot of these meat counters, there's like one person and the other person. So
it was just me and that other person.
Okay. All right.
And it was literally like totally acted like I was not there.
Okay. So were you okay? Sorry, maybe I wasn't paying attention. Did you like move up because you just made the move to move up, or did you wait to get the eye contact? Well, obviously it didn't happen, but sometimes you wait off a little bit and wait till they say okay next, or did you just make the move?
He didn't
up?
even say next.
Oh, okay.
He literally went up. I was standing to the left, the person was standing to the right, and he literally went up to the person to my right and says, "How can I help you?" And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, are you serious right now? Like, I've been standing here for the past like 3 minutes."
Is it possible the person didn't know you're there?
No, they knew I was there because they walked up like 2 minutes after me, and they literally just like was willing to like bypass me altogether.
Okay. What happened after that?
Yeah, I saw red.
You saw red. Okay. Did you have the parking lot moment that I had? Or was it worse?
I didn't tell anybody off.
When you do it, it's like, oh, you did. You did.
It wasn't like fighting words, but I definitely told him how I felt about it. Like, you're not going to sit here and like wait on him after I've been fucking standing here. Hello, ding, 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 ding.
Right. Okay. So the person that was helping someone else before that was someone that you knew. Okay, not like a friend, but someone that was like familiar, had helped you before in that department.
Yes.
They knew you.
And all of them has known, a lot of them has known me or knows my face behind the meat counter.
Okay. And so that person was like, oh, okay, so well, how did it go? I'm so sorry, let me go ahead and help you. And you went, oh no.
Yeah, well, he goes up to the person, he goes, "Oh, may I help you?" And I looked over, I go, "Dude, seriously?" And he's like, "What?" I go, "I was here first." I go, "I don't like saying that, but like I've been patiently waiting." And at that time, that person who was being waited on just looked at me. Now, you would think that a natural response would be like, "Oh yeah, that person was first." But they didn't do that at first. It was kind of like,
Who, the customer?
yeah, it was kind of like, well, if I'm
Oh,
gonna
like they were like,
if I'm gonna get help first, I'm gonna take it. Which, okay, I'm not that person. I'm like, no, they were here first. Please help them first. It's common courtesy. And then I had to kind of like lay it into him. Like, I don't like doing that to people. I don't like making service jobs
right,
difficult.
but no, the other worker that knew you then kind of stepped in.
Yes. He came up and he was like, yeah, he's pretty much told the guy, like, dude, she's always here. Like, she's the most coolest person. Like, help her out.
Right, and then, okay, so he asked you what you would like, and you said, oh no, I'm not letting him off the hook.
Yeah, he goes,
I'm gonna wait until he's gonna help me.
Yeah, so because the other guy came up to help me, I'm like, no, I want him to help me. He was the one who came up to the counter. I want him to do it. And at that point, the guy didn't, I think he then realized he didn't want to deal with me. And he tried to like figure out how to like not deal with me. But he had to deal with me because I made him like take my order. Which was, I can't remember I don't even remember what I ordered that day.
Yeah, exactly. You're seeing red. And then okay, yeah. So, and you were like, well, okay. So at this point, it doesn't matter anymore, right? So the example, mission accomplished, that you poked the bear. So, and yeah, because you were like, you will remember me.
He does remember me.
Yeah. Does he still work there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And he makes a point not to look at me every time I pass by.
Okay. But the whole point because at that point you had told me there was a bunch of people in line.
After that, then the line got bigger, and then people were staring. And at that point, I couldn't. Once I started, I couldn't stop. That's probably where I get myself into trouble.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and that's the thing is when you do that, that's awesome.
It's really not, though.
No, it isn't, but it is because you're able to get that thing done. Because wherever it's coming from, it's like, it's very truthful, right? And it's not like you're saying, hey, I want to throw down. And you're not saying, hey, I'm going to try to throw some curse words. A lot of people try to throw in curse words because I believe in two reasons. Number one is, it's kind of like they go a little bit blind when they are getting that upset and they know people around and it wasn't like something they had expected. So they get a little blind and start losing their words and start using the big words, right? Just real quick. The other reason is because other people just don't have the intelligence.
Well, I also think they do it to be loud and proud.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Look, I hate going off on people. I hate going off on workers because I believe that, especially in service jobs, you work really hard and you deal with enough like pricks to like you get dished a lot of bullshit. But I just feel like, I guess in that sense was like, and I'm sure everyone who shops would probably say the same thing I say. I am a loyal customer. I come here all the time. I should be serviced properly. Blah, 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 blah. It was just a simple fact that I was sitting there waiting patiently. And what bothered me the most was he was in the corner cutting meat. And then he knew I was standing there. And then he continued cutting the meat. And then when another male walked up to the counter, he stopped cutting the meat and he immediately went to service that person. That's what triggered me.
Yeah.
Because you had made eye contact with me before. Yeah. You continued cutting the meat. And then you waited for another male person to come up, then just to service that person. That's what set me off.
Course.
He could have said, oh, I see you. I'll be right with you. Yeah. I probably would have taken it better. I wouldn't have been happy, but at least he would have acknowledged me. But there was no acknowledgement. It was just a complete okay. I'm going to ignore that you're there.
Okay, what about remember like about a week or so ago, we went to one of your favorite stores that you mentioned. Okay, and there's the two double left lanes. Okay, and the person took the outside left lane, you're on the inside, and you kind of sped up a little bit so the person couldn't go in front of you. Because they were trying, I'm like, I go,
Oh, yeah,
I go, Mrs. Babe, you just did that. And you're like, well, they should have been in the correct lane.
Oh,
And
I
I'm
hate
like,
those type of drivers.
okay, there you go. Well, were you not the bear poking that person?
Sure.
Did you, oh, okay. So, okay, there we go.
Maybe. But this is what I look at. Okay.
Right. So,
this is my biggest pet peeve. Here we go. Okay. Everyone's going to fucking agree with me. This is my biggest pet peeve. There's 2 lanes for a left-hand turn. Okay. 2 fucking lanes. There's the inner lane and there's the outer lane. And a lot of times, if you're going to go on the inner lane towards the shoulder, you know that you're going to be turning really close because you know what lane you're going. And then a lot of times you're on the outer lane because you're going to go either in the middle or the outside lane.
Yeah.
What pisses me off is when you have the nerve to go on the outer lane, but think that you're going to cut me off to go on the inner lane. Home fry, you should have got on the inner lane, especially if you know that turn signal. It's a very popular, very busy, long line to get into that turn. Why would you wait? It's a very, if I'm going to wait patiently and do the right thing and have my blinker on and be all ready to go to my favorite store and yip, 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 with my little hat on, I'm ready to go. And then you're going to try to cut me off. I'm not going to let you.
What about when you're on the outside lane, okay? And someone's on the inside lane, and it's obviously because of your experience where you're just waiting for it, right? It happens all the time. Okay. You're on the outside. Okay. Mm-hmm. You start going and you just know it's going to happen, but you kind of have to prepare for it. You go on the outside lane, but you go a little further out. Why? Because that person on the inside lane is going to side swipe you out of your lane because they weren't paying attention and they're not going to stay in that middle lane or that inner lane.
Mm-hmm.
And so you end up kind of veering back if they don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now there's no other car that's, it's not like a third left lane. You go a little further out.
Right, because the outer lane has the choice of going to the middle lane or the outer lane.
Sure, but you're kind of like, okay, I'm going to stay in the lane, but I'm going to go halfway in the other lane, and I'm going to veer back in case the other person pulls that move, right? And when it happens, you're like, really? Oh, yes. Now, that's not like they're trying to poke the bear, but again, just,
No, that just means they're a bad driver.
Have you ever done that?
No.
Okay.
I am not that. For example, today, I thought I was going to have major road rage today. I'm like, oh, I left the perfect time for work. I'm going to get to work early. I'm going to be on time. Yay, yay, yay. No. This truck decides, with all his shit in the back of his truck, to drive 10 miles an hour in front of me. And then, as we're making a left turn, I'm going to get into my right-hand lane. What does he do? There's 2 lanes to make a right. He goes into the middle.
Yeah.
To cock block me from making my fucking right.
Yeah.
So I had to make it very known that my road rage came in because you pissed me off.
What'd you do?
I'm pretty much sped up after he made the right turn. I sped up really fast and then I cut him off. Because it's like, dude.
You didn't tell me that, Mrs. Babe.
Well,
you had a little situation. So you poked the bear. You feel like you poked the bear, then you poked the bear.
Yeah, he took 2 lanes on purpose.
Yeah. So again, so here we go. What if you were going to a major chain store? Okay, it was right down the street from that. You just cut him off. And then he ends up in the same parking lot as you. And you two both get out of the car at the same time and head to the same door.
Did I know that I was wrong for poking the bear? Probably, right?
Well, does it matter in this case?
Well, because
of course you did.
Okay,
you did it on purpose. Okay, of course you did.
So in my assessment, this is what I would do. Y'all ready for this one? Okay, so if I purposely poke the bear, which doesn't happen very often, it's usually I get poked first. But if I knew I purposely cut somebody up and we both went into the same store, Okay. I first will make sure I park maybe like 3 aisles apart from his
See,
car.
and that's what I talked about.
Then,
Remember,
hold
parking
on.
somewhere else. Yeah.
Then I would look at my watch and say, I'm going to give it 3 minutes for him to get out of his car and then walk, or he or she walk up to the store. And then I'm going to get out of my car and then I'm going to like walk like a snail to go in the store.
Yes, we've all done that. Yes, we've done that to avoid that. But Mrs. Babe, what would you do if you went and you're like, this is the motherfucker that cut me off and I just cut him off, and you guys both walked in and the tension is high?
I wouldn't say anything.
No, now that yeah, exactly. You're not gonna say anything, right?
No,
Yeah.
I'll probably give him my stink eye, but that's
Right.
about it.
So exactly what we do is we do little stall techniques. We park a little further away. We slow things down. We kind of like, you know, the 100 times we look at our phone, kind of look at our email real quick, just to kind of slow it down. We look at something. We just kind of, shuffle our things in our hands. We just kind of, I don't know. We stall a little bit because we don't really, because as a mature person, right, you go, okay, right, I don't want it to ruin my day. I don't want to ruin someone's day. I get it. They're just bad drivers, right? And that's what I'm saying. There's so many different elements and layers, right? You have poking the bear at home, right? Those ones can be really tough to deal with because, that's your sacred place.
Well, I also think when you poke the bear at home is in the natural sense, and I'm not saying it's 100%. It's a good percentage. Is that that you're going home to somebody who loves you unconditionally. Well, I would hope that you would love that person unconditionally, and that you feel safe enough to go ahead and poke the bear, and that it sometimes I think that you don't think about it and it just flows off your tongue, and
right,
then
because you're using the confidence of what you've built up to that point to say, we're going to be able to get through this.
It's your safe spot.
But sometimes you do it at an unfair expense because you're taking advantage that your relationship is as strong as it is, and it is a little disrespectful because you poke the bear. It's like it hurts more the other person you just hurt, and you're like, I did it because I know we have a strong relationship. I know we're going to be okay. Well, it doesn't make it right. Now it's a matter of, well, wait a minute. Now you're throwing real shots. Well, okay. I mean, that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about, okay, poking the bear, throwing little shots, poking the bear, taking advantage of that strong relationship. Hey, poking the bear is poking the bear, right? It just depends on like what intensity or level you're talking about, right? We were talking about being in the car, being at work, right? There's different, you talk about last week on the phone, that lady poking the bear a little bit. Now she was a little frustrated, but she was still kind of poking the bear a little bit as you had just quote unquote clocked in mentally. And all of a sudden you're dealing with something where it's like, dude, I have nothing to do with that. Right? Okay. So you're getting something off of your chest and you're using me for my position because I'm going to have to listen to this, and I'm being graded all the time at work because I can only take it to a certain level. Whereas like I've been around like, my partner at work where I'll say something to a customer on the phone and okay, I'll give you an example. There's a guy and, we have Spanish people, right? Filipino, lighter skin, right?
You have a mixture.
Right, yeah, exactly. And this person, like when someone said hello, like, just kind of blew him off. but waited until there was a clear shot to come over to me, like the lighter skin, and made it totally obvious. Oh yeah, I just want to deal with you. Like literally said that. And I'm like, I now definitely don't want to work with you. Like I'm willing to give up this sale for this store because that wasn't right for you to say. But we weren't going to do anything at that point anyways. But I'm like, I had already made my I had already made my decision. I'm like, really? Well, anyways, this person calls and says, hey, I don't know if you remember me. After kind of like saying a couple things, like, oh, I don't know if you remember. And I go, yeah, you're the one that didn't want to work with any of my other salespeople. I poke the bear and he goes, oh yeah. Right? In that case, my partner would be like, oh, dude, that was awesome. Yeah. Well, that's being real. Sometimes poking the bear gets you to that real moment. Right? Sometimes it doesn't. Right?
No.
So there's different levels of it where you're throwing shots or you're receiving it. And why are we all doing it anyways? Everyone does it.
Well, I think, okay, honestly, I think a lot
Well,
of
maybe
times,
not everyone does it.
to an degree, everyone does it. I just think that we live in a society where everyone's stress level is like really high. Honestly, I think people are working hard. They're dealing with other things, whether it be like family illnesses or stress at work, or they lost a job, or they have to look for a job, or they just started a new job, or
You don't know where people are coming from.
yeah, or they work 3 jobs and they still can't make ends meet. Everyone has some type of stress that weighs on their or they're a caregiver for an elderly parent or for another family member. No one knows what journey that anyone's taking. And I think a lot of people forget that. And I think the people who also are going through those stresses forget that people don't wear tags on their forehead that's stating what stresses they're going through, and not everyone can read your mind. And so they just, because they're so, they can't deal with or having a hard time, they just blurt out, take things. And I say this as like for strangers or someone who doesn't know other people when they do it. There are people who just do it because they're dicks, honestly, but the majority, no. I think most people just are coming from a place that it's very hard for them right now. In relationship wise, if you're in a relationship where someone's always poking the bear and you're with someone who just constantly pokes at you, yeah, that's not a great relationship to be in. You never want your partner poking at you day in and day out. That's just not attractive.
Well, yeah, no, definitely
But
not.
like in our scenario, like I know when, or I can anticipate. It's been a long time since we've had that encounter of how you feel, because you internalize internalize things. So, but I can always sense when it's coming. And I used to do it, and I always gave you like the cue, because I always say, what's wrong? And you would say,
Nothing.
nothing. And I go, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And you'll say,
and to me, that's the part where I feel like you're poking the bear, because I'm trying to tell you, don't do it, because it's coming.
Right. And so when he constantly would say, no, nothing. And then of course, an hour later, he'll call me. He goes, well, now that you keep asking me, this is what's wrong. And then he will then shuffle it off. The only reason I know he's feeling something is because he has this certain look on his face. I can't explain. I could feel it. I know it. And so I always give, myself, I'm like, okay, it's going to happen. it's going to happen. He's going to, and so I guess the reason I ask you so much is so then you can then just get it off your chest, and then we can just move on.
Yeah, like the last time you did it, you're like, okay, that's great. I'm glad you said that. So now we can just work on that. It was like it was a different thing. I mean, I really tried to not say it again. Just like, like this afternoon. Right. So went out to eat, and then just happened to check out the beach, and I was like, oh my God, it's so clean out there. And it looks kind of fun. So I came all the way back, grabbed the board, went all the way back. And then so I'm out there, and I'm on this one spot where there's like right before I paddled out, I saw someone, their fin was really short, where like the single fin would be, but it was like, it was short enough to be like a side fin.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was getting ready to go in the water, but I was just like, oh my God, you guys. And then that's all it took for me to ask that, because a lot of surfers are like actually very intelligent and will talk, but it depends on the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they don't know you and they're out in the water, generally they're not going to talk to you a whole lot, because there's like a lot of focus, and that's that depending on what it means to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, just walking up to a stranger on the beach before getting in the water, that's all I had to ask. And then he was just like, just talking like, yeah, because he wanted to do a 360, so at the shorter fin so it doesn't dig into the water as much. He was telling me how he tried to do this configuration. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, we started paddling out, going out there, and we were still talking. And I was like, okay, is this person, I don't like to say it like this. Is this person very experienced? He got kind of an older board. But I didn't look at it like that. I was like, okay, this person is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
When I went out in the water, I was like, oh, okay, maybe not that experienced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not that experienced. Not because they kept talking, but there's a kind of like a, I don't know, just something where you just kind of know that, like, to get into your element, right? So you don't want to disturb the other person's element,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you kind of like keep it to a minimum, unless you're out there and you went paddling out there with the person, or you're like out there with these people every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways, at some point later, maybe a half hour later, this other dude started paddling out, and then the other guy kind of went back in, and then didn't really say anything. And then it was just like, oh yeah, this is kind of fun. And so yeah, I was checking it out. I figured I'd sit in this spot because, the other spot had a lot of people. He's like, I'm just gonna wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna wait for it. I was like, yeah, totally. And the sun is like, what is it, like 3:30, 4 o'clock? So the sun's right now. Yeah, kind of cover your eyes, So it was kind of cool. Anyways, we end up on this one wave together, right? I'm going to go left. He's going to go right. Now, it wasn't like a perfect A-frame or anything, but just generally, I'm going to go left. Well, I saw all of a sudden, I was like, it's gonna open up and be a better right. So I go right, and it's got a lot of face on it, and I see he's on it. Well, I have the right of way at this point. But I did it in the wrong way. I went left, then I swooped right. So now I'm behind him, and which I have the right of way, but he can't see me. He's like kind of at the top pumping, and I'm sort of at the bottom. And so I pulled a little like, woohoo! And he heard me, and then he just kicked off. So, because it was technically my wave at that point, and I did my thing, came off of it. And then as I'm paddling back out, he's got a big smile on his face. I was like, oh man, that gave me hope, like, because it was a good wave. And I was like, yeah, totally. And but then he threw the shot, right? Depending on how you throw a shot, right? At what level. I can't tell you if he was trying to throw a shot, but if there was one, this is what it was. And it was okay. It was like, he's like, yeah, he's like, oh, I thought you were going left. He was being nice about it, right?
And I was like, yeah, I go, but then I go, I know, I did. And then all of a sudden I swooped in right. He goes, yeah, I just figure I'm not going to be a dick today. Right?
Well,
Okay, yeah, right. So now I was like, okay, that's his way. Like, he might be kind of like a dick out there, right? But he was being cool, right? So, but, right, that was him poking the bear a little bit, right?
yeah.
And we were still friendly. And then I was like, oh, that was a good wave. This is a good wave. But that was his way of poking the bear, right? But we're
Oh,
have
he
to
was letting you know that he could poke the bear even aggressively.
sure,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And but again, at the end of the day, I had the right of way, so he knew I had uh you know the position. You know, I owned the position, so whatever, right? But my whole thing is that when people get together, right? Right? So in that case, when you're surfing, right, uh, it's about me and the wave, but I also have to be conscientious of other people around, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the rules that are,
Right.
that you have to learn and stuff like that. So he knew I knew the rules, and he knew he had to kick off that wave, being that he knows the rules. So I think he also was kind of like, at the end of the day, he was like, this is what he's thinking. Damn, that was a perfect wave. And he even said, he goes, I was just about to do my bottom turn when he heard me. So he had to kick off. And he
Yeah.
was bummed because that was the best wave out there since the last half hour.
Yeah.
And so he had to kind of throw a shot. But I can appreciate that shot.
Okay, well that's different. But I mean, so
But for me, I wouldn't have said that if I was out there and the same thing happening. I might have said, oh, dude, oh, yeah, I totally thought you were going left. Yeah, dude, whatever he may have said, I would never say, oh, I'm not going to be a dick. Like, I've never said that before
well, I
out in the
mean,
water.
he's being truthful.
Yeah. So, but I have to take that and go, okay, he's poking the bear a little bit. Okay. But again, a moment of truth.
Right.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. He's being cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so I mean, like I said, if it's you have friendly banter,
Priority. That was the word I was trying to say. I had
yeah,
priority.
friendly banter is one thing, but when you're doing things to be ugly, it's not. It's not the jam. Like we all can be ugly at times. Everyone's human. No one's perfect. Everyone can make a mistake, and you have to fall. Like you literally have to pay attention and learn from all of our each own mistakes. Like we're all learning every day. So I mean, like what I'm saying is, don't be a dick. Like
Yeah.
everyone, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Like be cool. Like
Yeah.
just like today, like even though I was very agitated, and I did do what I did. I normally wouldn't do it, but I was like, wow, I'm really gonna make. It was like he took my really happy moment and he squashed it when he literally like drove. You don't drive that slow.
Okay, but let me ask you this: were you a dick?
I was a dick at the end. Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay.
So I mean, I told you so I was a dick earlier. I mean,
Well, that's do as I say, not as I do.
you know what I'm saying? Don't do what I just said. I just said don't be a fucking dick, okay? I just said I was a dick, but I'm just saying don't be a dick, okay?
Well, don't be a fucking dick. Yeah, exactly.
Don't be an a-hole.
Yeah, yeah.
Be kind to one another, okay? Especially your partner, your loved one,
Yeah.
or anybody, just anybody in general.
Yeah.
Just don't be a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you end up in the parking lot, just a couple little stall techniques so you don't end up at the same.
Yeah, don't get out of your car. You give it 5 to 8 minutes.
That's a long time, Mrs. Babe.
Think about what you think you're going to say,
Yeah.
and then say, "No, I'm not going to say that."
Yeah.
Take a couple deep breaths, and then get out of your car and
Yeah.
say, I want to go home tonight and not go to jail.
Yeah.
And maybe that might change your whole perspective
Yeah.
on any type of parking lot like scenario.
Yeah. Because, it's like when you bust through the front door and you're like, dude, you're never going to believe what happened. I was totally messed up. And next thing you know, it's like after you say that, kind of like, like a week or so ago when I was talking about how like all the speedsters on the freeway just flying by the last
Well,
like
it's the holidays.
last 2 or 3 nights like of about a week or so ago. But like I didn't come home. Normally I'd come home and like, dude, like almost like like my safety was right, at hand is what I'm really trying to say when I was saying like coming through the front door. But it doesn't carry the same weight as when you're thinking about it, or when I was thinking about it in the car after happened. I was like, wow, really? And then I envisioned myself saying it again, like coming through the front door going and explaining it. But then by the time I get to the front door, it's like, well, it's like you today, like not saying that had happened. It just happened, and you just move on. And it's kind of like if something comes up, like I don't know, us doing a podcast episode, you're like, oh yeah, by the way, he was a dick, and then I was a dick, and I was like, really, Mrs. Vape?
I have my moments, I tell you. It's not pretty, but I have them because I'm a human being and I make mistakes all the time. And I moved on with my day and I just kept trucking along. It is what it is.
Cool. Speaking of trucking along, let's move along. All right. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Right this way, we can end the
we can end
our
it
third
and
chapter
then
here.
yeah, and then we'll move on to the next episode.
Okay. Any ideas on what you want to talk about next time?
No,
Is anything, like you said last time, anything percolating?
percolating like someone's gut. That's what that sounds like. Is your gut percolating? That doesn't sound very attractive.
Bubble guts.
Ew, bubble gut's nasty. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
We'll have to surprise everybody.
Cool. We'll have we'll get this thing going ASAP again. All right. Good night. We're out.
Peace.
All right.